Hey there, I'm here to review Rewrite, the newest Key visual novel. If you don't know Key, well, you probably already know Key if you watch anime or play any other visual novel. They make works such as Clannad, Little Busters, Planetarian, Canon, and Air. And they usually delve into the Nakige kind of genre, which usually means that it wants you to cry at some point. And that's good and all, but Rewrite decides to kind of go away from that. So if you like Key visual novels for what they are, don't go into Rewrite thinking you're gonna get the same thing, because it's not the same at all, really. It has some similarities, but as a whole, it's not the same experience. So when you go into Rewrite, make sure you go into it with the mindset of, I'm not gonna get a Key visual novel out of this. So it doesn't even have Jun Maeda in it at all. I mean, he composes some of the music, but he does not write anything in it. So you're going to have to go into it basically with a fresh mindset, or you'll probably end up a little disappointed, or like me, you'll probably end up disappointed anyway, which is a shame. But anyway, I'm gonna review basically, this review won't have any spoilers in it or whatnot. I'm just gonna review the basics, and then I'll do a part 2, which will have kind of an in-depth review of all the routes, and that will have spoilers in it. So this one, spoiler-free. Okay, just as a quick synopsis of this game, you play as Tennoji Kotaro, who is pretty much a loner, along with his friend Katori and Yoshino. They are both kind of loners as well. Now, even though he's a loner, kind of like Tomoya was, he's still got a pretty carefree and goofy attitude. And the game is kind of about him wanting to make friends. You know, he wants other people to interact with him. He doesn't like being a loner, unlike Tomoya, who kind of chooses to be a loner. He just kind of is because of something you don't quite understand yet. And so what he does is, after meeting the 5 main heroines of the route through goofy interactions, you know, you've probably already seen this kind of stuff if you read any kind of other visual novel or anime. It's pretty comedy, pretty goofy, silly stuff, and they form an occult club. Like I said, kind of typical anime stuff here. The common route really is just mainly a bunch of slice of life stuff mixed in with a lot of comedy. And it's pretty enjoyable overlong, though some people do complain that it is pretty long. I didn't actually find that to be a problem because I enjoyed the whole thing, and I thought, since I read that it was long before playing it, I thought that it would be a lot longer than it actually was, and it didn't really bother me. I mean, if you hate this kind of anime stuff, then 1, you probably shouldn't be playing this game in the first place, and 2, I don't know, just you probably shouldn't be playing this game in the first place. However, I want to warn you before going into this game a few things. 1, this game is incredibly long. You know how I said some people complained about the common route being long? This game has some of the longest heroine routes I've ever played in the game, and this might be actually the longest visual novel I've ever read. Like, it's longer than Fate's Stay Night, it's longer than Muv-Luv Alternative, it's longer than Little Busters. It's really, really long, so be prepared to, you know, read it. Like, it's gonna take a while, and the only way you could read it pretty fast is if you skip all the voice acting, which I would not recommend because the voice acting is actually really good in this game. Now, if you're one of those people who say, well, I can't understand what they're saying anyway, then yeah, you could probably read this faster than I did. But if you like to listen to all the voice acting, yeah, it's gonna take quite a long time. It is 100,000 lines long if you do everything, and that's like the equivalent of 10 or 12 books that are like probably 200 pages. I want to say that's about how long it is. Yeah, it's quite a beast. So, and it might not actually be worth it in the end. So I would only recommend this if you have no other visual novel to play, or if you've read everything else, or you're just in the mood for it, you like the look of it or whatever, but just be prepared. You might not be willing to go through this all. And I know a lot of people got bored at certain sections of the game. I wasn't too bad on this. It wasn't that I was bored, it's just certain sections of the game I really didn't like. So it really depends. Now, I mentioned the good voice acting before. There is one problem with the voice acting, and that is so many characters are not voiced, and not only are they not voiced, they won't have a character sprite at all. So it feels like, even though this is a Key work, and Key makes a lot of money with these visual novels, I know they do, and it felt like they just really didn't have that much budget for this. This game doesn't have any lip flaps like a lot of other visual novels do. Most of the side characters, pretty much all of them, are not voiced at all. And only like 10 or 12 of the characters even have a character sprite at all, I want to say, which is really limited. Like, I'm not sure why these choices were made. I thought Key would have plenty of budget, and the only thing I can think of is they spent all their money on the voice actors because the voice actors they got were so good. I don't know. Maybe it's because the game was so long that they really just couldn't afford to have voice acting on all these characters and couldn't bother drawing all of this. And there isn't even that many CGs in the game. So, you know, compared to most visual novels like, say, Steins Gate or Muv-Luv Alternative, it feels a little under budget for some reason. Not sure exactly why, but it definitely feels that way. Maybe they were just rushed, and that definitely feels like the case towards the end, and I'll explain why later if you feel like listening to that. But I'm not sure. Maybe they literally were just rushed to put this out. And I kind of wish they spent more time with it, because I can imagine it would have came out a lot better if they did. However, there is one aspect of this game that I have zero complaints about, and that is the music. The music is some of the best out of any visual novel I've ever read. Definitely better than Little Busters and Clannad, definitely better than Muv-Luv and Steins Gate. Really good, nice variety. The emotional music is great, the action music is great. Yeah, there's a lot of action in this game. That's my only sort of spoiler to you. That it does have some shonen elements in it, if I put it lightly. And yeah, it's a really nice soundtrack. And yeah, I think almost anyone who reads this will probably really enjoy the music. They did a really good job, and this is the only place where Jun Maeda contributed. Unfortunately, I kind of wish he contributed a little bit more, because I think the game would have turned out better if he was a part of it. Though, thankfully, Jun Maeda will be back on the next project, so it's not a huge deal. Anyway, like I said, don't want to spoil too much in this review, but I do want to say, if you plan on playing this, like I said, again and again, prepare for quite a beast. It's long, it might not satisfy you, and to me it does not give a satisfying conclusion at all. So it's hard for me to recommend. Overall, it's up to you whether you want to play this or not. You might like it, some people like it just fine, they like the ending routes just fine. Me, not at all, and that's really up to you. I would quite honestly not recommend this over other visual novels. I at first thought this game would be awesome. And that was with no expectation going into it. I thought it would be awesome after reading a good bit of it. So yeah, you can see how it kind of disappointed me near the end, which is a shame. Because it had a lot of potential, and that's a shame. And I'll go into it in the other review, and basically go into this with an open mind. That's the only thing that's what you're really gonna need the most. Because if you don't go into this with an open mind, I can guarantee you won't enjoy it. Also, only play this visual novel if you like shonen tropes. Because if you don't like shonen stuff at all, you're not gonna like a lot of things in this visual novel. I can guarantee that. And some people, they say they only enjoy the last two paths. And I'm like, oh gosh, how can you play a whole visual novel that's 100,000 lines long if you only enjoy the last two paths, which is like a fifth of that, you know? I don't understand it. But anyway, my personal recommendation is I can't recommend it, but if you really are starving for another visual novel, it will last you a while at the very least. I'm hoping the next visual novel I read is a little better. Anyway, I'm gonna make the next review now. If you've already played the visual novel, go for it. Or if you're extremely curious and you need spoilers to play the game, because some people are like that, don't ask me why, then you can go check that out. Alright, I'll see you guys later.